this one? Probably over 8 hours. I know. You guys having fun today or what? I made that nose out of a sweet potato and then I stuck it on at the end. It was the Dormouse from Alice in Wonderland. I'm gonna do the Cheshire Cat, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Oh, the Queen I'm really excited for. The Queen of Hearts, yes. Thanks guys, have fun today. We are here at the New York Botanical Garden located in the Bronx, and I just love coming here. I think it's the most magical place on earth. I love carving pumpkins and sharing all of my tips and tricks. Let's do a new one. Doesn't he look creepy? Why don't we put some teeth in him?
Oh, sure.
Yeah? I've been carving pumpkins for well over 20 years. Fell in love with the magic of Halloween at a very young age. You know, I think Halloween in general is just an expression of creativity, and pumpkin carving especially is just magical to me, and I've been obsessed with it for as long as I can remember. What do you think? What if I had teeth this big? Would you still be my friend?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's no wrong way to carve a pumpkin, that's what really gets me so excited. Even mistakes force creativity, so that's, it's just a really exciting art form. The other thing about pumpkin carving that's so special is that it's an ephemeral art, so it's very time sensitive, and I think it ultimately contradicts my personality. Like, I'm by nature a control freak, very perfectionist, and you know, I have to create something that I ultimately let go. What do you think? Gnarly, right? One of my favorite things to carve is the huge pumpkin giants. They're over 2,000 pounds sometimes, and they're actually like 12 inches thick. A lot of these pumpkins only have maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches of a wall. And as a sculptural artist, it's really tough to create a 3D character in such a limited amount of material. But these giant pumpkins have endless amount of material to carve into. And it's our grand finale at the end of October every single year. 2,000 pounds of beautiful pumpkin that we get to carve up. And it's just so much fun.
That's pretty epic.
I think what I'm most famously known for is the combination of added fruits and vegetables. After I got on Food Network and I won Halloween Wars back in 2015, the rules on that show were to use nothing but edible material. So I was forced to be creative with potatoes and carrots and butternut squash and add those into my design. I love doing these little potato and carrot eyeballs. I love the contrast of the color. I think it's a really easy way to just make these pumpkins come to life, which is a few simple tools and a little know-how. So I'm gonna run through a couple of the tools that I have in my toolbox. I've collected hundreds of tools over the years, but you only need a couple tools to make a fantastic design. Just a simple paring knife is one of my favorite tools. This is a smaller format. I see a lot of people going after their pumpkin carvings with a big kitchen knife. One of the worst ideas ever. Not only is it unsafe, but the format of that knife is gonna fight you through that pumpkin. It's important to know that the first couple of cuts of your jack-o'-lantern are gonna be the hardest because you have a lot of tension on that pumpkin. So even if you're cutting a mouth or a larger shape, it's important to like trace that shape with your smaller knife and then maybe cut sections out of there rather than trying to get the whole piece out. But what you're probably most used to is a little serrated one that you get in the pumpkin carving kits. Those are great. You can even step up your game by just adding a grapefruit knife. It works fantastic for making some curved cuts. You can cut both ways with a little sawing motion. If you're looking to step your game up, some of the sculptural stuff that I do is done with ceramic tools. And when I was in art school, I took some of these tools home with me and was experimenting on one of my first sculptural style pumpkins. And this is where I fell in love with Halloween. I was able to take some of these regular tools for clay sculpting and apply them to the pumpkin material with great success. These are great for just kind of shaving away at the pumpkin. So I start really big. A lot of people ask me how to peel the pumpkin before I begin the sculptural part, and this is one of the tools. You can use a vegetable peeler, but usually the convex of the pumpkin is too large. And this little triangle loop right here is great for just peeling that hard orange skin, which reveals the soft orange flesh inside and is beautiful for sculpting. So I start with larger tools like this, and I end up dropping down into smaller tools as I begin to refine those details. One of the other game changers, in my opinion, should be in everybody's toolbox is the X-Acto blade. Extremely sharp, only for detail cuts, but just fantastic. One of the pro tips that I learned way back when, these are speedball linoleum cutters for printmaking, and I mean, are just fantastic for pumpkin carving, especially for the etching style of carving. And that is similar to a jack-o'-lantern where you're gonna illuminate it from the inside, but we're not puncturing all the way through the wall of the pumpkin. Because believe it or not, if you scoop your pumpkin really well, all you need to do is just peel that skin and illuminate it from the inside, and you're gonna get some fantastic detail with these tools. Scooping your pumpkin is probably one of the most important steps when you begin. So you're gonna cut a hole in your pumpkin. You can go from the top, the bottom. I like to go from the back side of the pumpkin. You're gonna cut a hole big enough for your hand to get in. And this is an avocado scoop, but I think works fantastic for pumpkins. And you really wanna make sure you're cleaning that pumpkin as well as you can. Get all that stringy mess out, get all the seeds out, because that's where the mold's gonna start. And then some of the potato eyeballs, I started with a melon baller. And this is a pretty common tool you probably have in your kitchen drawer right now. And then I jumped it up to a larger ice cream scoop. I took out the little doohickey, but this is great for making a potato eyeball. Believe it or not, super glue works fantastic on pumpkins. There's something about the wet, porous surface of the pumpkin material that just instantly bonds. So a little super glue goes a long way. If you're gonna add a tooth or maybe an eyeball or an ear, super glue is your best friend. And of course I have a toothbrush. Everybody needs a toothbrush just in case you're making some potato teeth. You gotta get all the little bits out of the way. I got my little paintbrush for the same material. And then here's a couple things that I found in a craft store maybe 10 or 20 years ago that I use for my potato and carrot eyeballs. These are little brass tubes. They're just like little drops of this thin-walled tubing that's perfect for cutting the iris and the retina out of those potato and carrot eyeballs. So I love those. And then my last tip, this is a Scotch-Brite pad for cleaning up the pots and pans, but it works phenomenal on pumpkin, especially your sculptural style. Or if you're doing a jack-o'-lantern, you can kind of clean up some of those tool marks and remove any of the pen marks that you have on your pumpkin. All right, so let's get started. When I'm in the pumpkin patch, I'm looking for a few key indicators that are gonna tell me what is a good pumpkin and what's maybe not such a good pumpkin. I'm always looking for a green, healthy stem when I'm in the pumpkin patch. It's the first indicator of the health of the pumpkin and also how recently it was picked. The thickness of the stem sometimes can indicate the thickness of the wall of the pumpkin. I like the character of the stem as well. I like when there's some good length and some of this little fine detail. I think it just adds to the character. And then I'm gonna look for the shape and the size of the pumpkin and the style of carving that I'm looking to do. Some are great for jack-o'-lanterns, some are great for sculpture, but like this little example right here, I picked up. Usually I look for perfectly round pumpkins that have no bruises or blemishes, but this one had a little deformity and it sits up perfectly. This guy just talked to me, so I had to bring him home. And I'm gonna add some potato and carrot eyeballs. And you're gonna see this guy come to life with just a few additions of some fruits and vegetables. And I got my ice cream scoop, and I'm gonna place my eyeballs. Now I'm only using this to score the pumpkin skin. And that's gonna give me a nice crisp edge. And I can move this scoop anywhere around the pumpkin and place different size eyes wherever I want them. And I think that's what I love so much about pumpkins, that the slightest variation on an eye or a nose or a mouth, just the placement and the shape can create a completely different character. And remember I said we have our X-Acto blade. And what I'm gonna do is come right in here and just cut back a little 45-degree chamfer so I can take these pieces out. The kids love the little pumpkins. These little potato eyeballs are great for the kids. Hey, buddy. It's amazing. Here, you can take a little piece with you if you want. Don't eat it. There you go. Now, I could go through with the ice cream scoop and just scoop this cavity out, but the X-Acto blade allows me to keep that perfect circle, that nice, crispy, crunchy edge. And I think it's well worth taking your time. You can see also the way that I'm holding this tool. I'm cutting away from myself. And I'll be doing that with every single tool that I'm using. I'm also stabilizing this pumpkin on the table. I'm standing up, I'm not cutting towards myself. And I'm actually gonna stabilize the pumpkin, but also stabilize my hand with this other thumb. So I'm nice and stable, and that allows me to control this tool. You'll see how quick he comes to life. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my melon baller, and then I'm gonna start taking out these eye cavities. And like I said, if you don't have a potato, pretty cool effect just the way that it is. I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the other eye. Our melon baller's out of style. Is that like an 80s or 90s thing? I don't remember, but if you've eaten a cantaloupe or a honeydew recently and you haven't used a melon baller, you gotta reignite the tradition here. And there we go. We got 2 eyes carved out beautifully. All right, now for the fun part. I got a couple potatoes here right from the grocery store. I like to use a little bit larger of a russet potato if I can find one. And I like the larger ones just because I can get multiple eyeballs out of them. I'm gonna use this ice cream scoop. I'm just working it back and forth and you can kind of feel it snap away. There's our first eyeball. I mean, look how perfect that is. And then remember we were talking about the Scotch-Brite pad. This is probably under your kitchen sink. This is great for cleaning up these eyeballs and cleaning up any tool marks on your pumpkins. Now, the next step is to soak these in lemon juice, and it's a very important step. Everybody's like, oh my God, use potatoes and they go brown in 2 seconds, and that's very true. So you wanna get this submerged into a lemon juice solution. If you have a real lemon at home, you can squeeze the lemon juice into a bowl, dilute it with a little water, it'll work perfectly. You can also grab some lemon juice from concentrate at the grocery store. Works fantastic. All right, we're gonna cut eyeball number 2 here. Same thing, just working this tool back and forth. Another perfect eyeball. Now that we've soaked them in lemon juice for a few minutes, you can see that these eyeballs are gonna pop perfectly into this cavity. I mean, and it's as simple as that. These potato pieces are a great addition to the pumpkin. It's already made it come alive. I have a little piece of a sweet potato and I like the contrast. So remember those little brass pipes I was telling you about? These are great to cut pupils and the iris of your eye. And just push right through. And then we're gonna save this drop here. This is the little piece that we're after. So again, you can use your little Scotch-Brite to kind of just polish up these edges. And then I'm gonna drop down to a smaller tool. And this is going to cut the pupil, just like that. Little sweet potato donut. I'm gonna use the exact same pipe that we use to cut these sweet potatoes, and I'm gonna cut the cavity inside of the potato eye. And it's very important, you wanna try to get those pipes to line up with your perspective, because we're just playing with shadows here. But these pipes cut right through that potato like butter. And then the drops of this potato, you can keep as well. Throw this right in the lemon juice and this can come in handy in just a few minutes. Beautiful, just like that. Look how great that looks already. And again, we've saved these little bits here, and I'm gonna show you how we use those. Got the tiniest little pipe here. Same exact move, I'm just gonna plunge right through here. And I got my little bamboo skewer. Comes right out. Do that one more time. Boom. Now anytime I cut a potato or remove a section, dip it in that lemon juice again, keep it nice and white. Same thing we did with the potato, I'm gonna carve just a little cavity for that piece of potato to sit in. This is where I think the pumpkin really comes to life. Now I'm gonna use my X-Acto blade and pick up these incredibly tiny little pieces of potato that we cut. You can see it's just a little piece, but I have that cavity in there. So I'm just overhanging that potato just a little bit, and that's gonna pick up the light inside of the eyeball. And because the reflection on your eye stays the same with the light source, you're gonna do the same thing. So you don't want these to be off. You want those to be at the same angle, right? And watch when I push this thing in, how much this pumpkin comes to life. Just like that. Is he alive or what? As soon as I saw this little deformed piece and the way that he sat, it just looked like a mouth. And just by adding 2 pieces of potato and a little bit of sweet potato, he's alive. Okay, so we went through the potato eyes really quick. Nice, simple way to make your pumpkin come to life. I wanted to take you through a couple of the other tools in my toolbox that can create a really simple design. This guy was a nice fresh pumpkin. His stem broke off. I thought about maybe just laying him down and carving him this way, but he's not sitting quite right. But that's the best part about pumpkin carving. You just get to be creative on the spot. I like one of these G2 pens to lay out my design. And again, when you're drawing on your pumpkin, you can use a magic marker or even a dry erase marker, wipes off really nice. Don't use a permanent marker. You just don't need to. I'm just kind of being loose with the traditional jack-o'-lantern style, but I like to play into the shape and size of the pumpkin. This guy looked a little happier to me. I don't know. It's just a guideline. But you can see the same shaped mouth, but with the different eyes is gonna create a completely different character. So we talked about these linoleum cutters. These are fantastic for etching, but it's also great for keeping nice clean lines. Again, I'm always supporting the pumpkin, supporting my other hand and cutting away from me. This speedball cutter will allow me to make some twists and turns. So you can see how easily this kind of just maneuvers around the pumpkin. You're able to take out little pieces. Again, these could be used as little whiskers or hair later. So make sure you're keeping all your droppings and kind of just being creative with it. You never know, sometimes a mistake can lead into a whole new design and create a magical piece. So just have fun with it. This is a lot easier than trying to take a knife and plunge all the way through the pumpkin. The other part too is we're talking about the etching style where you don't have to go all the way through the pumpkin to get your traditional jack-o'-lantern lit up. All you need to do is just peel this skin and then go through and scoop it, and all of these lines would just light up on their own. And you can see I'm being really free here. You know, the normal jack-o'-lantern, it's like, let's get those triangles perfect, but I'm not even doing that. And I'm not even staying really true to my guidelines here. I'm just having fun with some funky shapes. Now that I have my design laid out, I got my little Scotch-Brite pad, and you can see that this cleans up all those little pen marks really nicely. Now from here, I was telling you about some of these ceramic tools, some of these ribbon tools work really well. Now that you have this nice crisp edge from your linoleum cutter, this is how I peel all of my pumpkins. I'm just taking this tool, I'm gonna stay close to the edge, just kind of work my way all the way around. Once you get through this thick orange skin, the light orange flesh is beautiful for sculpting. It makes it much easier. This is the hardest part. It's funny, now that I'm carving this right now, the little moves that I'm making on the upper part of this mouth just remind me of teeth already. You could leave this part of the skin just the way that it is. That's why I like the evolution of this, this pumpkin carving art form, because anything goes. You can do whatever you want, and that's the most fun. You could light this up the same way, and you don't need to go all the way through. I'm gonna do the same thing with these eyes. Same exact tool, a little bit smaller for the eye area. Just pulling away from my cut lines here. Kind of a cool way to mimic a jack-o'-lantern and not have to puncture all the way through. This is actually a great way to carve your pumpkin and make it last longer too, because once you cut open the pumpkin and expose the innards, that's where all the mold and decay starts, and it's gonna age your pumpkin. It's gonna decay a lot quicker. Because we haven't opened this pumpkin up, we haven't scooped them, they still have a jack-o'-lantern. It's not gonna light up because we can't get inside of them, but it looks like a jack-o'-lantern. This would dry out, and this style of carving would last probably weeks in comparison to something like this that's already opened up. So kind of a cool idea. One of my other favorite tools was the grapefruit knife. So let's say that we kind of like this, but we did want to open up his mouth. This grapefruit knife is great, and it works both ways. So again, I'm supporting the pumpkin, and I'm letting the tool do the work. Give it a little backhand. Change direction, go the other way. Nice for pulling out little slices. What I'm gonna do is just remove some of this bottom material. You can see how that whole piece is bouncing. And remember I said don't try to take out this whole piece. Everybody that's doing a jack-o'-lantern cuts this whole shape and tries to pull out the whole piece. Just skip it. Just take out little bits like this. Look how much happier this guy's already looking. He's fantastic. See, I'm kind of being a little erratic with this knife, and I kind of like that texture on the bottom of the mouth. Gonna look a little toothsome at the end. He's looking pretty fun. What I would do at this stage is I would come back to a clay loop and I would try to sculpt some of this area. You could take down some of this material and set this back, and then this could become a tooth line. Let's see if we can knock it out really quick. Another key tip to think about when you're carving your jack-o'-lanterns is when you're cutting your shapes out, the way or the position of your knife is very crucial, because let's say we're trying to cut out these triangles. If the angle of my knife is like this, you're gonna see the entire wall of that pumpkin. It's gonna distort your design. So make sure you're going in at a 90-degree angle, or in this case, I kind of angled my blade up, similar to this mouth line, to kind of show some of this jagged cut. I could come back and grab my linoleum cutter and cut in some tooth detail. I'm gonna use a paring knife to refine these teeth a little bit. I'm doing 245-degree cuts. We can see I'm being really loose with this. A lot of my pumpkin carvings, I'm being super fussy. I'm working fine detail, but sometimes doing a traditional jack-o'-lantern and just being expressive and creative is the most fun, because there is no wrong way to carve a pumpkin. So we're just having fun today. Now that I have the tooth line kind of sculpted out, again, I got crisper lines in here. I can go back in and give these teeth a little bit more flavor. Just make them a little bit crooked. And then is a pumpkin carving ever really done? It's only when you can put your tools down. So I'm just gonna go in here and just clean up this gum line. I'll probably grab my little toothbrush here now that we've carved some teeth. I told you they'd come in handy. Just having a little bit of fun with a very loose design. And this is kind of a mix between an etch, a sculpt, and a jack-o'-lantern. So this is all three carving styles in one. You know, let's have a little bit more fun. Maybe you can pull out some of these guts. It looks a little extra creepy. I've used seeds as little tears before. Those are fun. You know, that's what it's all about. All right, well, I hope you had fun today. I sure did. Before I let you go, everybody asked me how to preserve your pumpkin. How do you keep the pumpkin fresher longer? I wish I had a better answer for you. Pumpkins are ephemeral by nature. They're meant to decay. They're meant to be composted. But I do have a few tips I will let you know about. Pumpkins are a fruit, so you would want to treat it just like a fruit or a vegetable. If you cut an apple in half, you wouldn't put it on your front porch and hope for it to survive. So a lot of these pumpkins I wrap in saran wrap, I put in my fridge. I know that's a little crazy, but I do use saran wrap. Let's say you have a Halloween party on Friday and you're only able to carve it on a Tuesday. You could wrap your pumpkin in saran wrap and it'll help extend the overall life. One of my pro tips is I mix up a little of that lemon juice solution. Same lemon juice we're using for the potatoes, and I like to mist down all of my pumpkins with this stuff. So I got a little spray bottle here, and I'm gonna mist inside of the pumpkin after we've scooped it, all of the cut marks, keep all of those little potatoes fresh. I think the lemon juice acts as a little natural preservative. It will slow that mold and decay growth down just a little bit. Those are all my tips and tricks that I've learned as a professional pumpkin carver. I hope you've learned something today to level up your pumpkin carving game. Get out there, be creative, and happy Halloween.